Hello, I'm great to be here.
Great to have you today. First of all, I want to ask you, recently decided to leave your position as fundraiser in Harvard due to your experience with anti-Semitism in campuses. Can you share with us what led you to this decision?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I didn't experience any direct anti-Semitism from the people that I was working with, but the overall environment was one that I just did not feel comfortable working in, especially fundraising in. So I went to Harvard to work in gift planning, which is helping donors that want to leave Harvard in their will. And after October 7th, many of the donors that called, they expressed this sentiment that the Harvard that they went to when they were students is not the same Harvard that would ever release a statement following October 7th with such tepid response, and not a Harvard that would ever have a student organization that would come out immediately following October 7th and release a statement essentially justifying terrorist actions. And then to work at a university where there were encampments in Harvard Yard with people wearing keffiyehs and people staying intent to, justify all of this behavior. I didn't really feel comfortable fundraising for an organization like this anymore.
Adam, what kind of response did you get from your colleagues or the administration in Harvard when you voiced your concerns, if you voiced your concerns?
I remember that following October 7th, we didn't really receive any instruction. And then there was a place to share our concerns. We had this Zoom meeting with everyone in development, and it was a place for people to just share their concerns. And within development, the way that it's kind of structured is that everyone is very accepting of everything. And so in the space, everyone speaks and it's very accepting. People said, I don't like how Harvard responded. And everyone would be like, yeah, that's thank you for sharing, essentially. But it
that's
wasn't
all.
really.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, exactly. Always thank you for sharing.
Yes, so the university administration didn't took sufficient action to address this issue, to say the least.
Well, and I remember receiving an email from the Harvard Union that everyone is essentially required to be a member of, and it was come voice your support for a pro-Palestinian rally. To me, that was also kind of absurd. I'm required to be in this union, and I'm getting an email that basically says you're kind of nudged into supporting a rally on campus to support Palestine. And there were all of these subtle things because the university is not going to come out outright and say anything anti-Semitic, or Harvard's too smart to. And this is kind of the issue they ran into, was that they didn't want to say anything wrong. They didn't want to say anything that could upset all of the students on campus that are supporting a terrorist organization. And so they came out and said nothing. And then the dean of the university goes before Congress and says that, calling from the river to the sea is contextual because, again, she doesn't want to say anything wrong. And so she ends up saying something completely absurd.
So they are not anti-Semitism, but the anti-Semitist students who are at the pro-Palestinian protest feel comfortably enough to express this anti-Semitism on campuses. I want to ask you, Adam, in your view, have we reached a point where the academic landscape in the US becoming increasingly unwelcoming for the Jewish individuals, Jewish students?
Yeah, and I think it's a slow process that's sort of bubbling to the forefront now, because for the last maybe 20 or 30 years, academic institutions have slowly admitted more people with these kind of insidious ideologies, and then it grows over time. So now you have a landscape where there are professors that support a terrorist organization, and then you have students that are learning from these professors. And whereas, and this is what donors would tell me, 40 years ago, people at Harvard would never feel comfortable or even believe things like this. And now you have this cycle of students being taught ridiculous ideologies of like settler colonialism. And when you have this, environment where people are learning a false narrative, then I don't know, it becomes a difficult place to challenge that narrative.
Yes, it's all a matter of narrative and not the facts. I want to ask you, Adam, in conclusion, you're getting your MBA nowadays at the University of Maryland online while you're traveling around the world, a totally different experience.
Yeah, I didn't really want to stay in the U.S. So I'm getting my MBA at the University of Maryland, which is a pretty pro-Jewish university. That's where I got my undergraduate degree, and it was definitely a vibrant Jewish community there. But traveling around has also given me a lot of perspective because I've been in maybe 14 different countries since leaving, and countries like Turkey and Morocco. So it's definitely given me a lot of perspective.
So perspective, but you didn't want to stay in the US, and it's a problematic headline to say the least. Adam Cines, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.